Hello and welcome back to the SCOTO Bets podcast, or rather the SCOTO Podcast Network, as we are now rebranding ourselves following the hiatus that I'm sure you are all aware of. But if anybody's not up to speed, let me bring you up right now. So, obviously the long hiatus that we've had, believe since the McGregor card, something like that. But we are back. We are rebranding. We actually will now have a family of podcasts under the SCOTO Podcast Network. This is the first one. This is the Goose on MMA. This will be my own personal show. This is going to be talking more about the specific bets that we originally started with SCOTO Bets. All of your MMA, boxing, kickboxing, gambling, and handicapping needs are going to be covered here. This is also going to be where I interview some fighters that I'm able to get in touch with. Recently, I'm not sure if a lot of you have been following us on Instagram, but I've started doing some play-by-play calls for Flex Fight Series and amateur promotion here in New York. Also doing some fights in Florida, so a lot of high-quality, up-and-coming fighters coming from that promotion that I'll hopefully be able to get on here and join the podcast, bring you guys some quality content from them, tell you a little bit about some of these upcoming guys. But that's generally what this one's going to be. We're also thinking about a lifestyle podcast that Dan and I will be doing together. Also thinking about possibly some hockey, some other things. There are a lot of things here in the works, but we're going to have a variety of podcasts here for you, our SCOTO fans. So I have three of those interviews for you guys today. Recently today, I spoke with McKenzie Headen. He's the number 16 ranked light heavyweight in the state of New York, had a huge knockout at Flex Fight Series 2. I also spoke with Marco Berreondo, who's going to be making his amateur debut on the upcoming Flex Fights card on August 27th. That's this Friday at the Stereo Garden in Patchogue. Again, Friday, August 27th. You can order that pay-per-view on flexfights.com, or you can buy tickets to the event if you live locally or if you want to make the trip. Also have an interview today for you guys with Lathan McBride, another Warriors Nation fighter, a teammate of Marco, who doesn't have a fight book just yet. I believe he's looking to fight in October, but he had a little run-in with the champion in his division, the lightweight champion, that is Adam Livingston, here at Flex Fight Series at the last event. So they had a little conversation in the crowd. I wanted to ask them what that was all about. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But for now, we are going to start by recapping UFC Vegas 34, the main event. Jared Cannonier, huge win, 48-47 unanimous decision, ×3 over Kelvin Gastelum. Really big win in the middleweight division, has helped establish himself as the number 3 contender there. Obviously, with the loss to Robert Whittaker, the top 3 in that division go pretty clearly 1, 2, 3 out of Adesanya, Whittaker, and now Cannonier. He has defended that spot successfully. And for Kelvin Gastelum, took the fight on short notice. Obviously, Paulo Costa was the guy who was originally slated to be in this spot, and Gastelum had a pretty good showing. I actually have him moving ahead of Derek Brunson in my middleweight rankings this week because of the showing that he had, because he showed that he's able to strike with a guy like Cannonier, who I hold in very high regard. I think that Brunson has an opportunity to move up the rankings again with his fight coming up against Darren Till, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, I do have Gastelum ahead of him. Cannonier, where he goes from here, I mean, it's really just a title shot or nothing else. He does say that he has to fight again. We'll see. Whittaker and Adesanya are rumored to not be happening until 2022. So that's going to be a bit of a long layoff. If Izzy does want to get back in there sooner than later, Cannonier could be the guy. That would be a really interesting stylistic matchup. Moving on from that fight, another one I wanted to talk about was Alexandre Pantoja's rear naked choke victory over Brandon Royval. A little bit of a comeback, something that we've gotten a little bit used to with Pantoja. He's a very well-rounded guy, highly skilled. So he also has 2 wins any way you shake it. One was an exhibition bout on The Ultimate Fighter. The other was in the UFC over the now champion Brandon Moreno. And again, he's one of the only guys who's really beaten Moreno in the last 3 years. So it's going to be really fun to see if that fight gets made. Obviously, Askarov is ahead of Pantoja in the rankings. There's possibly a number 1 contender fight to be had there if the Figueiredo fight does happen again, the trilogy that is with Moreno for the belt. So that'll be an interesting development. Some other notes from UFC Vegas 34. Parker Porter, big upset win over Chase Sherman. That's not how I thought that fight was going to go. I thought Porter would likely overextend himself at some point, get himself caught by one of those step-in elbows that Sherman loves to throw. He's tough guy, tough opponent, so a really big win for Parker Porter there in the heavyweight division. Josiane Nunez, really huge overhand left knockout. Big UFC debut for her. Welcome to the UFC, Josiane Nunez. Nice little performance bonus to go along with that one. William Knight, knockout of Fabio Cherant. Not how I thought that fight was going to go. I did have Knight, but I had him winning a decision. I thought his wrestling pressure was going to be the big difference in the fight. Didn't think the knockout was what was going to win him the fight at that point. But again, really a nice performance. But the knockout of the night and possibly the knockout of the year was Ignacio Bahamondes. Really talented kid, trains with Bilal Muhammad and bunch of other really high-level guys. So, he's surrounded by high-level talent. He's been in high regard by a lot of people who are involved in the UFC for a long time, and showed up now with I believe this was his second UFC fight, but that wheel kick knockout, at least on my list so far, that actually would jump the Corey Sandhagen knockout of Frankie Edgar in the knockout of the year conversation. Really crazy wheel kick there. Perfectly timed, perfectly executed. A lot of fun to watch. Super violent knockout. And the future is bright for Ignacio Balmundez right now. And with that, we'll get into the results from SCOTO Bets weekend. We only had UFC Vegas 34 this weekend as far as our picks. 2 straight bets, Austin Lingo on the money line, Jared Cannonier on the money line. Both of those cashed for 1.5 unit wins. Moving on from there, where the night was really made was on the parlays. We had a round robin strategy going, a couple of round robins. The first one was Knight, Pantoja, and Sherman. So that one went 1 and 2 to net a loss of minus 0.45 units. The next one was Sherman, Madsen, Cannonier. So that one also went 1 and 2 with the Sherman loss. Obviously, Sherman cost us a bit there, but again, only a net loss of 0.45 units on that round robin. The final round robin is what made the night: Pantoja, Madsen, Cannonier. So that one hit on all 3 legs, and we also had Cannonier, Madsen twice because again we had the Sherman, Madsen, Cannonier round robin as well as the Pantoja, Madsen, Cannonier round robin. So those netted respectively 1.55 units, 1.71 units, and then the 2 Madsen Cannoniers were 3.36. So the total on parlay is 4.17 units profit, and the total on the night was 7.17 units. So $50 unit wager better would have landed $350 on Saturday night. So a nice positive night there. Hopefully you guys are riding with our picks. Hopefully we'll get you some more winners next week. And with that, we will get into the review of Battle Flex, the 3rd installment of Flex Fight Series. So Flex Fight Series 3 Battle Flex took place on August 13th at the Space Westbury Theater in Westbury, New York, and it was another fantastic event. We had some troubles here and there with the Wi-Fi and the air conditioning, but other than that, it was a fantastic night of fights. We had a lot of high-quality, high-level talent in the building, a couple of really nice showings, some fun finishes, and I had the pleasure of calling the preliminary card. So getting into that now, the first fight of the night, Aaron Brito, really excellent performance. He won by first-round submission triangle choke against the guy Eric Gonzalez, who was 2-0 in mixed martial arts. This was Brito's first win. He now climbs to 1-1. But what was really impressive about that is that one of Gonzalez's specialties is on the floor in the jiu-jitsu department, and he did get a takedown early. Brito remained calm on the bottom, threw up a really nice triangle, a couple of attempts, and he ended up cinching it in there with about 2.5 minutes in. So 30 seconds left in the first round of that amateur bout. So really, really nice victory for Aaron Brito, flipping the tables, a guy who we expected to come in and try to keep the fight standing, try to work a lot of the kickboxing. He does have very high-level credentials in the kickboxing realm. He's a K1 champion at 5-1 in another local promotion. So he was really able to get in there and show off that versatility and the well-roundedness of his skill set. And I think he's a future star in our promotion and beyond. So really big win there. Congratulations for Aaron Brito on that debut win. The first win of his career in the mixed martial arts world. Now, moving on to somebody who had his first win in a kickboxing fight, that was Nick Cassio. First round knockout of Daniel Johnson. That fight was over within a minute. Cassio, a lot of forward pressure, landed a couple of really nice shots, and the referee had seen enough about a minute in. So really clinical performance from Cassio. I think he went in there and did what he expected to do, what his team expected him to do, and really nice debut win for him. Looking forward to seeing him back in there. Mariah Castro, another fighter who I'm really very much looking forward to seeing back in the cage. She climbs to 4-2 with her unanimous decision win over Chloe Manon. Fight went 30-26 across the board. All 3 judges scored the first round as a 10-8 round. It was pure dominance in that round from Mariah Castro. Chloe didn't go away, though. She was a very tough opponent. Both women very skilled and very experienced. So both remained calm in the fire. It went back and forth, and that was an extremely high-level competition that Mariah was able to exert her dominance in. I'm really looking forward to seeing her back in there. She comes from Carnicella MMA, who had a few fighters on this card that we'll get to shortly. Many of them had really nice performances. So moving on to Nick Ross in his amateur debut, a mutual debut against George Watkins, who George has some kickboxing experience, another Warriors Nation fighter, and a high-level kickboxer at that. So a tough opponent in a debut for anybody, but Nick Ross, an absolute monster. He's a very big lightweight. A lot of wrestling pressure from him. He had some really, actually showed some stand-up skill as well. A lot of really good stand-up skill. Landed some nice 1-2s, big right hands. Kid's got a lot of power. And honestly, when you look at him, you just would never think that he was a lightweight. I think he stands about 6 feet tall, 6'1", something like that. And just the absolute brute force was a little bit too much for Watkins in that fight. So congratulations to Ross, a really big win in his debut. The next fight, Connor Wujak, a submission in about 12 seconds officially, over Mahar Murak, and another tough opponent. But Mahar, he was a three-time state champion in karate at the black belt level. He reached a national ranking of number 3, so he was looking to keep this fight standing and try to land some shots on the feet. But Wujak, for the second time in his career now, he's 2-0 as an amateur, has submitted his opponent in the first round, and not even a shot thrown by either side in that fight. It was Wujak moving forward, got the takedown immediately, jumped on the neck, and it was good night, Irene. A really big win for Wujak, a former defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was an all-conference player at defensive tackle at Boston College as well, a high-level athlete now taking his skills into the mixed martial arts world, and we're looking forward to seeing him back in there again very soon. The final fight of the night that I had the pleasure of calling was Patrick Ball, a unanimous decision win over Michael Shivsharin, another very high-level matchup, and both of these fighters now sit at 1-1 following that fight. And again, the skill sets were, and the advantages in the skill sets, rather, were kind of opposite of what we had expected on the call. Shivsharin had gotten his first victory as an amateur on our Flex Fight Series 1 card at the Stereo Garden in Patchogue, where we'll be heading back to on Friday. He got that win over a striker in Sultan Chinbayev by exerting a lot of wrestling pressure. And he's a really strong technical wrestler. He's somebody who does a very good job almost automatically of getting people into the cage, wrapping his hands behind their legs, sucking the hips in. Very great technique on his double leg takedowns, but he's very confident in the well-roundedness of his skill set as a patient fighter, lets the fight come to him. And that's something that he was doing a great job of in the first round of that fight, throwing that left straight hand down the middle. He was moving off the line very, very well. He wasn't there to be hit. Won the first round pretty convincingly, but Patrick Ball in the second 2 rounds, or the second round and the third round, rather, exerted that wrestling pressure, really flipped the script on Shivsharin, got him to the ground, and was able to hold him there and land some strikes. So a really, really impressive performance, honestly, by both guys, but especially by Patrick Ball, who came out as the victor, gaining his first victory in mixed martial arts. So congratulations to him. Following that, we had Binyam Shibre, who some of you might recognize his name from either his fighting career or 90 Day Fiance. He is a 2-0 amateur fighter now, won by rear naked choke. Also in 12 seconds, that victory came over Miguel Bernacet. And Binyam is coached by Charlie Chunba out of AMA in New Jersey, a really strong gym, really strong high-level coach there who some of you might recognize his name also from our broadcasts. He has AMA sends a lot of fighters to the Triton fights and the Flex Fight Series cards. And I had the pleasure of being joined by Charlie at the Flex Fight Series 2 event at Bald Hill Amphitheater. He joined me on the call for some really exciting fights that we got to see there. And now that actually is a great transition into Nargoka, who might potentially be on the mind of McKenzie Headen, who was who had one of those exciting finishes at Flex Fights 2 that I had just mentioned. But we'll get to that later on during my interview with McKenzie. For now, we'll mention that Nargoka had a huge head kick knockout of Real Jamaica Funk Jason Downer, third round of their fight at middleweight at Flex Fight Series 3. So a really big win for Nargoka, another one of those Carticella MMA guys who's having a great showing. He also fought at Bald Hill, gained a win there. He's now 2-1 as an amateur mixed martial artist, showing a very well-rounded skill set. At that first fight, had shown a lot of the wrestling, but now in this fight, again, obviously kept it standing for most of the time, did control a lot of the wrestling and clinch action, but finished the fight with that head kick knockout and was really getting off on the feet. So Nargoka showing a very large, wide, versatile skill set, huge, tremendous fighter. Really excited to see him back in there again, be it at middleweight or light heavyweight. David Pardo had a draw against Erling Collado at Flex Fights 1. That was a mutual debut at that point, so he picks up the first career win by unanimous decision over James Kovarik. Really high-level win for him. Kept his distance very well, fought behind his jab. Really high-level kickboxer, so fun to watch him. Can't wait to see him back in there. Wallace Alves, cousin of Worley Alves, climbed to 2-0 as an amateur mixed martial artist by triangle choke at 2 minutes and 31 seconds of the third round over Alex Aserian. Really interesting performance. It kind of that was another one that kind of went back and forth at a lot of different points, but Alves walking through the fire to pull that one out. Steve Lee from Longo Weidman MMA, first round rear naked choke victory to climb to 2-2, win over Nicholas Pirazario. Again, obviously coming from such a high level gym, it's always fun to see Steve Lee in action, and we're looking forward to seeing him again. The rest of the card, a lot of really fun, interesting matchups, and quite honestly, I can't provide too many personal takes on them because I was working the mic in the crowd, so I didn't get to see all that much of what was going on. I will say Chrissy Andoli, a huge, really impressive performance over 3 rounds to win a split decision over Anastasia Bruce. I did think that Chrissy had won 2 of the 3 rounds. I didn't hate that the fight went split decision, but I didn't think it was as close maybe as some of the judges saw it. I thought Chrissy was pretty convincingly the winner of both the first and second rounds. The third rounds, Anastasia Bruce did not go away. She came back and had a huge third round. I thought she won that round, but thought it was pretty clearly 29-28 in Chrissy's favor. So kudos to the Long Island MMA fighter, Chrissy Andoli. Another huge victory there. And Ryan Castro, in 1 minute and 6 seconds, knocked out Ibrahim Kali in our kickboxing bout main event at 175 pounds. So huge win for Castro and a huge night of action at Flex Fight Series 3. Again, looking forward to Flex Fight Series 4 on August 27th. Again, going to be back at the Stereo Garden in Patchogue, and we're looking forward to hopefully seeing you there. For now, let's get into my interview with one of the fighters who's going to be fighting on that card, as I mentioned earlier, Marco Berreondo, making his debut against Naquan Calderon, another mutual debut. So both of those fighters going to be fighting for the first time in their amateur careers. It's going to be really interesting to see how they each approach this fight, and I got to ask Marco a little bit about that. So we'll get to that interview without further ado. Marco, thank you very much for joining me. I know you guys have a very busy training schedule, and we're recording this at 8:30 on Thursday morning. So again, I know that's right smack in the middle of the week. I know you guys got the fight coming up next week and everything. So
yes.
How has training camp been going? How do you feel going into this so far?
Training camp has honestly been going very well. It's the most certain I've been about like my stand-up game, my ground game, everything of that sort. As far as weight cutting, it's going pretty smooth, but training, like I said, I just feel really good. Like I already feel like I won.
Awesome. I mean, that's when you win the fight is before the fight, right? So having all that great preparation, having a lot of great coaches.
Yeah, most definitely.
A lot of great training partners to train with too. Can you speak to kind of how that and the environment at Warriors Nation has kind of helped to develop you as a fighter?
Oh, most definitely. So, definitely, having Hensel and Xavier and Hulk, aka Pedro Villa, helping me out, was just like, it's a big factor in my game because, X and Xavier and Hensel, they're very big on striking. And then, coming from a wrestling background, me and Hulk just clicked very well. It's just like he's basically introducing me to like the left and rights of MMA, like as far as like wrestling, he's like, Bobby, we're wrestlers, like this is how it works, and so it just clicks very well. So that bond is there. And also my training partners, like, let's say I'm going through like, 5-minute rounds and I'm dying and stuff, like, they'll pick me up. They'll be like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Put your hands up, like, get up. Because like the way they like to explain it is, anytime you give up on yourself like that, it's going to become a secondhand instinct to be able to give up on yourself in the middle of a fight. So you just got to push through that until you finish. So it's been pretty beneficial to be with these Warriors right here.
So that really is a lot of what can help bring advantages to a lot of your fighters, right? Is that warrior mentality, that never give up mentality. Like you said, training 5-minute rounds, even though we only fight the 3-minute rounds in amateur, you're kind of almost overtraining, but training mentally more than anything else, right?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So you mentioned the wrestling background. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yeah, most definitely. So I wrestled throughout high school, and then a little bit after that. So I'm a big Greco guy, so I love Greco-Roman. So anything from the waist up is the rule set, and I like throws. I'm in the clinch position. I feel very, very comfortable. Although I do take my shots here and there, my main goal, like when it comes to wrestling, is just to constantly keep like pushing forward, just driving through that guy. So definitely wrestling, falling into this type of sport, like the MMA sport, is just, I believe it's a big factor.
It absolutely is. It's one of those base skill sets that I think everybody needs to have in this sport, and it's something that can definitely carry you a long way. And again, like you mentioned, having Xavier as a striking coach, can you kind of speak to how that's helped to develop the rest of your game?
Most definitely. So, a big thing with wrestlers is always, their back. They're very, very tense, so when we're striking, we look like we're very stationary or immobile, you know what I mean? So X has helped me a lot to the extent where it's just become a natural instinct to, as far as my footwork, getting out that center line, not moving in towards the power hand, like just big things that not a lot of people stressed out. He's actually sharpened for me.
Awesome. So it's all the finer points of striking and everything. And now, is this your first experience in the striking? Was training with Warriors Nation, or do you have any boxing background or anything like that?
No, it's actually my first. It's gonna be my first MMA fight or any competition involved with striking. I was actually doing a couple of things in jiu-jitsu. I just had my super fight not too long ago at 10th Planet in Bethlehem. But as far as striking, this is definitely my first one.
So the stronger wrestling and the jiu-jitsu background, is that something that you feel you're going to be able to utilize against Naquan?
Most definitely. Like I tell everybody, if the submission's there, I'm definitely going to take it. If the knockout happens, so be it. But I'm not going to go in there and play patty cake with the guy, I'm definitely going to go in there, close distance, grab him up. And if I take him to the ground, then, maul him down there.
That's something that I'm kind of noticing is a consistent theme when I talk to all the Warriors Nation guys. Everyone seems like a very patient fighter who wants to let the fight come to them. I think you all are very confident in the well-roundedness of your skill sets. You're confident where it goes. Can you kind of speak to that point a little bit?
Yeah. So as far as like my game, or just in general, like of how we work?
Both, really.
Okay, cool. So as far as like all of us, the best thing about I believe out of our facility is that we're more like a family. We're like brothers. So like my jiu-jitsu coach, Andrew Franco, he's a black belt. IBJJF medalist. We built a great bond. So anytime we're in the gym or we're just hanging out, we're like, hey, bro, this submission would actually work for MMA, or like this and that and the third, or like, hey, bro, why are you sitting there? Let's go work, and it just becomes a thing where it's just naturally like, hey, wrestling, I know jiu-jitsu, let's do some wrestle jitsu. You know what I mean? As far as like striking, I'll have like Erling Goyalo. He just did a flex fight series fight not too long ago. He'll sit there and he'll be like, hey, bro, I need to work on my wrestling. And, I got you with your stand-up, So it's kind of like a beautiful thing that everybody has their shining star, and we're not afraid to put it in each other's galaxy. You know what I mean? It's just a lot of contribution coming from everybody. And it's just so nice that they don't view it in like a jealous type of way. They're like, they want you to get better. We want each other to get better.
Absolutely. And that family and team mentality, like you mentioned, is something that can certainly help contribute to success for everybody in the gym. You did mention Erling's fight, which
Yes.
I had the fortune of calling. That fight went, I believe that was a draw with David Pardo, right, in the kickboxing bout?
Yes, it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to get the win, but again, that draw against the high level opponent, we just saw what what David was able to do at the last Flex Fight event.
Most definitely.
Winning his fight, so it helps to speak to kind of how you're all having success against high level opponents. And now Naquan Calderon, he's another one of those high level opponents that we have another Warriors Nation guy taking on. Yes. Have you seen any film on Naquan at all, or are you familiar with his game at any?
So that's the big thing right now. I'm not gonna lie, I saw his Instagram. I didn't really see much. I Googled the guy, unfortunately I didn't see him on Google either. Like as far as like, cause if you Google me, like you will see like some wrestling stuff, like some jiu-jitsu stuff of that sort. And I couldn't really find anything on the guy. Like the most I saw was he posted a jiu-jitsu meme on his story. But a big thing, like I like to explain to everybody, that doesn't dull my sword. You know what I mean? Like it's like I'm sharpening my sword to go to battle with whoever they put in front of me. It's not just gonna be him. So my mentality is not, hey, let me prepare to beat this guy, but let me prepare to be ready for whoever they put in front of me.
And that's an excellent mindset, kind of staying within yourself and really focusing on your own skills as opposed to what your opponent's going to be doing. And you did mention there's stuff out there on you. Is there any kind of element of maybe being a little bit worried that he's seeing more on you than you are on him kind of thing? Do you feel like you're kind of giving up an advantage in that sense?
I'd say yes and no, because my game is just constantly improving. It's not going to be the same game every single time, and honestly, when like growing up in wrestling, they'll teach you a high crotch, they'll teach you a double, they'll teach you a single. But, if you're good at that and you've studied it to become like your secondhand nature, you're always going to get that high crotch. You're always going to get that double. A thing in practice in wrestling, we always did in the wrestling room, be like, hey, bro, I'm going to get a high crotch on you. And the guy knows you're going to get that high crotch. But if you train yourself and it becomes a second like hand nature to get that high crotch, you're going to get that high crotch no matter what. So that's just my mentality going into this fight.
Like I said, that's an excellent mentality. You kind of have that confidence. And that really that's a huge point, and to have that confidence. So just to kind of put it all in perspective, really, you're going in there, you know what you're going to do. And it's something that it doesn't matter whether he knows what you're going to do or not. You're confident in your abilities. You're just going to steamroll him anyway.
Yes. Most definitely. Yes. I'm looking to just clock in, clock out.
Awesome. That's a great game plan, my man. And I mean, that's most of the fights, most of the questions that I have about the actual specific fight. And now, tell me a little bit more about you personally. So let's get to know the guy behind the fight. You know, Marco, this is going to be your debut fight. This is kind of your first coming out party with Flex Fight Series and with the MMA community in general. What do you want people to know about you?
So yeah, I'm from California originally. The reason why I got the nickname Cali Wave is because in high school I used to play football, and the kids saw that I would dress different, you know, like all this stuff. And so they're like, hey, you're bringing that Cali Wave to New York. So it just kind of stuck. So I'm what they call like a Cali boy, I guess you could say. Very, very like I consider myself a very relaxed person, but when I step into the cage, I'm a different animal. I'm a big performer, so I love to entertain. So anytime I go out there, I love to put on a big performance. So, you know, always when you see me in the cage or when you see me in any type of combat sport, expect it to be a show. You know, I'm not going in light and I'm not going out hard, you know. So
Absolutely.
That's pretty much it.
Awesome. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, man. And that's a great message to send to people. And I think people are going to be really excited to watch you fight. I'm excited to watch you fight, and I can't wait to see what you're able to do against Naquan Calderon on August 20th.
Most definitely. Thank you. I appreciate the love, man, the support.
Anytime, man. Thank you so much.
No problem. Have a good one, Liz.
All right, so I'm here with Lathan McBride. He is one of our lightweight fighters at the Flex Fight Series out of Warriors Nation. Currently 2-1 within the promotion, including the history with Triton fights. 2-0 in his last two. Lathan, how are you this morning?
Doing fine. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for joining me.
Anytime, Greg. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. So we're talking about some possible upcoming matchups for you. I know that within Flex Fights, you're going to be fighting on the October card that's already been confirmed. We don't have the opponent just yet, but you are looking for a high-level opponent in that fight, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for a good matchup. I'm expecting a high-level opponent. You know, I'm expecting somebody that's gonna, you know, me and him sparks are gonna fly and cause a, you know, and create a nice good show. You know, so like I said, 2-1, winning my last two with them. So I'm expecting a high-level opponent. Warriors Nation, we accept hard fights. We accept the fights that nobody else wants, and we put on good shows.
Absolutely, and that's something that we're certainly going to be looking for. I'm sure Chris Machi is going to find you a very well-suited opponent, and we're going to get a really good show out of that, like you just said. And now, what would a win in that fight mean for you? I understand there's something that you want to do next after that. Obviously, not looking down the road, not looking past anybody, but kind of hard to focus on the opponent if we don't know who he is yet. What are the future plans beyond October?
True. Well, with this upcoming fight, you know, everybody hopes for a win, right? You know, hope for a big win, you know, sparks fly, you know, create some buzz. After this, I'm claiming a win. I'm claiming a win. You know, I'm gonna put on a good show. You know, no, nothing to my opponent, but you know, I'm looking to come and win. And after this, that'll be 3 in a row. I'm looking for a top contender spot. You know, I'm looking for a fight that'll earn my title shot. You know, a fight that'll make a statement. You know, and earn my title shot with 4 wins in a row.
Absolutely. And so, like you said, if you do come out of this upcoming fight with a win, that would be 3 wins in a row over some high-quality opponents, assuming this next guy is, again, another high-level guy. Your last 2 wins, obviously, over Dave, over there was another fighter who was undefeated who you had beaten. So a couple of really nice victories together here, a very nice resume. And you had mentioned that title shot. The current lightweight champion, Adam Livingston, was in attendance at Flex Fight Series 3, as were you. And I was lucky enough to be next to you guys when you had a little conversation, a little back and forth. What was said there? I didn't really hear most of that conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, I was just talking, just a little back and forth, you know, competitive banter. You know, I told the champ heal up. You know, I told him I liked his win. You know, I told him wasn't too impressed, but it was good. It was a solid performance. You know, I know Steve Morris is a good, solid opponent too. You know, but I feel like I could have finished the fight. But you know, all respect to Adam. You know, he's a good fighter. He's a little bigger than I thought in person. But I told him heal up, and I'll see him soon.
Certainly, he's a big lightweight, and as you mentioned, he is recovering from something right now. So hopefully, he's able to put that together, get back in soon enough, and we can get you guys in there together possibly. But you mentioned the Steve Morris fight. One of the things that was that I was looking for, at least out of Adam in that fight, you know, there have been a couple of fights now. He's 4-1. When he hits people, they don't really seem to come back at him, and that's what the challenge was that Steve-O presented. Right, was he got hit and he kept coming forward. Now you believe you have that?
Yeah. Steve-O was a tough guy. Tough guy, man. Tough guy. He put on a hell of a fight. You know, he was getting caught, but he kept coming. He kept, you know, pushing forward, and he didn't give up. So I like that. Kudos to both fighters. An interesting fight. I watched that live at the fight in July over in Patchogue. So yeah, I've been at the last two events. So I've been seeing all the quality opponents, man. There's been some good fights. I've been loving it.
Absolutely. So, and in terms of Adam and the matchup with him, what are some of the things that you think you can present to him? Some of the challenges that no one else has been able to so far?
Probably with my power, and I know I'll probably be one of the tallest opponents he's faced. He's usually fighting guys like 3-4 inches shorter than him and stuff like that. I'm 6'1", and I know I'm like comparably, you know, close to him in size. The last two opponents I've seen, he's had like, you know, a few inches and range over them. With me, he won't have that, and I definitely bring the power. So he's gonna have to watch out for that.
So you think that ability to fight from the outside while also bringing that power is something that he hasn't seen before? Obviously, you mentioned he's another very large lightweight. You both are very tall, long lightweights. So he hasn't really seen too many guys who have been able to kind of pick him apart from the outside. You think you have that?
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. I can crack. When I hit you, you feel it. So, yeah. So that's going to be something that he's going to have to prepare for, you know. Like, no disrespect to him and all that, but, you know, if you're facing shorter guys with that much power, you know, it's an easier fight, you know. But if you're a guy who's longer range like you, who can hit just as hard or harder, now that prevents a different type of challenge.
And that certainly is a very interesting stylistic matchup. And a lot of the time when you have two elite strikers going at each other that way, guys with elite skill sets and elite frames like you two have, it could come down to the clinch, the grappling. Do you think that you hold that advantage as well?
I'm working more on my clinching, my grappling. My grappling and clinching is solid. You know, it could always use work. But over at Warriors Nation, man, we got a whole bunch of wrestlers, man. I got some grapplers and some good wrestlers over there that's going to help me take that to the next level. You know, we got college level wrestlers, you know, former champions in Triton, and the MMA coach Pedro. He's a classic good wrestler himself, former bantamweight champion, and those guys, they're going to help me they're going to take my clinching and grappling up to that next level where it needs to be.
Certainly, and you mentioned the high-level coaching staff and the high-level training partners that you guys have at Warriors Nation. Hensel, obviously, Xavier, Hulk. Can you kind of speak to how that's helped to develop your overall game? Obviously, your background is in striking, and I see you there wearing a Jiu-Jitsu versus everybody shirt. So you really are starting to fill in all the gaps, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I've fallen in love with jiu-jitsu. Like you said, you know, I'm back, typically I'm a striker, you know, Taekwondo stylist, and, you know, had a lot of street fights growing up. So, you know, that's where the striking comes from, you know. But, yeah, you know, getting into MMA, you know, you learn all the different aspects of the game and what it takes to make it. You know, grappling is such a huge part of that. Jiu-jitsu is such a huge part of that. And while training that stuff, I've fallen in love with it, you know. And I know that that's what it takes to make it. So, you know, like, yeah, Pedro. Well, Pedro is Hulk. We keep the AKA Hulk. You know, we call him Hulk. Yeah, he wrestled. He wrestled a lot. Cali in his upcoming fight, my boy. You know, he wrestled coming from California. Wrestled in college. My boy Brian wrestled in college. It's just great. We have a whole lot of wrestlers there. The guys who wrestled in college and done it competitively, and won fights by using wrestling. So, you know, those are the things that they can pass on and show me that I can learn.
Certainly, and you mentioned guys from your gym winning those fights by using their wrestling abilities. A good example would be Michael Shifsher in his debut, and you mentioned Marco Berreondo, who's going to be having a fight in Flex Fight Series on August 27th. I actually had the chance to speak to him yesterday. Can you speak a little bit about what it's been like for this upcoming fight and what the vibe in the gym has been kind of around with? I know you have 3 fighters on the upcoming card, actually.
Yeah. It's been awesome, man. It's been awesome just being in that environment, watching the fighters get ready. It just gives me so much to be excited for and to be motivated for, you know. And it's an honor helping those guys get prepared for their matches, you know, because, you know, we know what it takes to be there to sacrifice. You know, we all love it, you know what I'm saying? And it feels so good, you know, when you're there and your teammate gets to win, you know, and, you know, you feel like you're a part of that, you know. You help them get there. You help them get that win with them, you know. You're not in there with them, but, you know, your heart is there with them, you know. So it just feels great, you know, watching these guys put in the time, the sacrifice, you know, the sweat, and in hopes of getting, you know, these wins for these upcoming fights.
Absolutely, and that really is one of the things that I've noticed most specifically about your gym, about Warriors Nation, and all 3 of the Flex Fights events so far that I've been a part of. huge presence from you guys. I've seen no less than
Yeah.
15 guys in Warriors Nation t-shirts at every event. And, you guys are
Oh, yeah, man. We there. Yeah, we there to represent, man. That's what we do. This is what we do. Other people are plumbers. Other people are, mechanics. Other people fix other stuff. But, we fight. That's what we do.
This ain't a game, man. This is life.
You know it. You can't play fighting.
No, you can't play fighting. That's yeah. I mean, fighting is a different sport in that way, man. And really, that's one of those things that I've noticed again about Warriors Nation, about all of our fighters, really, but specifically about you guys. This really is a lifestyle, right?
Definitely, man. Some guys are fully dedicated full time, some part time. As soon as they get off their job, they come in with their work uniform and everything, coming to the gym. Yeah, guys are dedicated. We're there. Xavier, Hansel, they put so much into us and they give us so much. They allowed us to come and practice in the space, and they teach us, when they can. So we're just so grateful, and we put our time in as much as we can. When I'm not working or sleeping or eating, I'm training, I'm doing something. I'm in a fitness gym, or I'm going to the Warriors Nation. They put in something. It's just a grind. It's just a grind. It's crazy because sometimes come out the gym, you don't realize how tired you be. You come home and I'll hit the pillow for like 5-6 hours and realize how tired you be. That's how you're getting work.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned, I mean, that dedication really has paid off. It's been showing a lot of results for you guys in the cage. And you had mentioned now the having that space. And Warriors Nation is a pretty recently new gym, and a bunch of you guys came over from, I believe, a UFC gym at a certain time. Can you talk about that transition and what kind of went down there?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like we said, they were originally teaching and coaching at UFC Gym Soho on Canal Street. No pun to the UFC gym, great, facility and company, but it's more of a family fitness gym. It's not really a gym for fighters, contrary to belief. So they saw that and they had came together and got their own space, and most of the fighters that was there at UFC Gym Soho, they just like migrated to over there. It was just like, I don't know, it was kind of like prophetic, like it was weird. It was weird because I knew pretty much 80% of the staff when they had created the gym and stuff because after the pandemic, a lot of us were looking for places to train and stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, I was out of training for like almost the whole pandemic. So, I was looking for a gym to like, get me back into shape fast, not something I was gonna princess around, So Hansel and Xavier, I knew them. And then they had the Gym Warriors Nation. Like I said, I knew pretty much a lot of the guys that was already there. So it just seemed natural and that I go there. And it was one of the greatest decisions I made. I love the gym, love the people there, the staff. And I've gotten so much better in the time that I've been there. I mean, my physicality has changed, my skill level has changed, and you're going to see even more change in the next 2 months. About 56 more days, actually.
Perfect, man. That's exactly what we're looking for. And really, that kind of helps to explain how you guys are all so close and how that is such a tight-knit family at Warriors Nation, despite being only a recently developed gym.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Yeah. We bonded, and we're around to stay, man. We're going to bring some belts and some championships back over there.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And this has been a fantastic interview. I really appreciate you taking the time this morning, Lathan. Is there anything else, any closing thoughts you want to give to the people before you sign off?
Man, just, y'all watch out. We got fighters. My boy Marco's fighting on this 27th card. Got my boy Niaz, he's fighting too. And we have another guy fighting too. So look out for them and keep an eye for Warriors Nation, man. Y'all going to see me October 16th.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to seeing all the Warriors Nation guys in action coming up with Flex Fight Series. And Lathan, thank you again for taking the time. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, TJ. Appreciate it, man. I'll see you soon.
Anytime. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am joined here by the number 16 ranked light heavyweight in the state of New York, Hempstead's very own, the Mad King, McKenzie Headen. McKenzie, how you doing today, man?
What's going on, guys? What's going on? Thanks for having me, bro.
Anytime. It's my pleasure to have you. No, I'm doing well. So we were hanging out at the last Flex Fight event at the Space Westbury Theater, Flex Fights 3, and we got to see a couple of real good matchups in there. We got to have an interview with you cage side. How was your experience over there?
That was a good show. I liked it. I saw a lot of potential there. So hopefully some good possible matchups. So we'll see. It was definitely a good show, though. I liked it. I had a good time, though.
Awesome. It absolutely was a good time. And that was following the Flex Fights 2 events where you were fighting at the Bald Hill Amphitheater. You had a huge first-round knockout over Rogers Ramirez. And let's talk about that a little bit. What was that like?
Second round knockout.
Second round, I apologize.
40 seconds in. That was a big win for me. That was bouncing back from a few losses. And then dealing with COVID, with everybody dealing with COVID for the last year. It felt good to come back with that one. So I definitely needed it. My town needed it, and I had a big support group with me. So it was a hell of a ride to get back on track. So hopefully we can stay on it.
Absolutely was. And you mentioned staying on track. We're looking to get you booked hopefully in October, right? You said you wanted to fight October 16th?
Yeah, I'm praying. Flex Fights, what's up, guys? What are you guys doing? Let me know who wants their ass beat. I'm here. 205, 185. Whoever wants it, they can get it. I make dreams turn into nightmares. But hopefully October 10th, we can get something set in stone. That'd be dope.
Awesome. So we're looking to get that fight booked in October, and we were talking a little bit about it before. Are there any names that you want to throw out there? Anybody who impressed you on any of the recent events, or is it just anybody?
Anybody at the moment right now. I just want to put on a good show. Again, my last fight was a wonderful showing, crazy knockout. So I want to see if anybody else is willing to bang with me also. See if anybody wants to stand with this power. So. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's got to be tough, like you mentioned. I mean, there is a tendency in our sport sometimes for guys to avoid fights against guys who they deem are going to be tough against them, and a devastating knockout like that, it could be even tougher to get a fight after that, right? Because people got to be scared of you now. Yeah,
definitely. Because I was supposed to fight October 13th, the fight that just passed. And it seemed like everybody just either didn't want to fight or they had other plans. I'm just going to say everybody had cold feet. But definitely somebody with that type of power, you don't want to get hit by him. I think everybody that I've touched, except for one guy, they fell. So, it's pretty hard, but that's part of the game, though. So.
Certainly, and you certainly do have that touch of death, and we like you said, we got to see it in a fantastic show at Flex Fights too. Can you kind of talk us through that knockout and how you saw that all developing?
Yeah. So, for everybody that wants to still know what was going on with my feet of the fight, also, the cage was hot. Let's get that out the way. It's fucking blazing. So that actually helped me move forward to get the fight over with even faster. But, the first round, the end of the first round, we kind of slugged it out in the corner for a sec. And I noticed a lot of my shots were going right up the middle and connecting with them. From the outside, it looks like it's not really hitting him. It's going right up the middle of his guard. So I could see it like bashing his nose and mouth in. So, the bell rings. I go to my corner. Despite the floor hot, I'm like, the floor is hot, but he's going the next round. He's like, finish it and get out the cage. So, I just started pressuring him. I saw that he was kind of a little wobbly, but he was still answering back with some shots. But once I started landing, I think I threw like an overhand and I started going to the body. And I noticed how effective it was. And he started kind of crumbling. You could kind of hear him say, ooh, ooh. And every time I threw to the body, I threw the overhand to the head. And one shot landed and I saw him go. Now I kind of hesitated and the ref was like, finish him. I'm like, oh, fuck. I threw that devastating left hand and he folded like a chair. So now we're here.
And here we are, like you said. And that's a great point that you make about how the body work opened up the shots up top that ultimately finished the fight. But one of the questions that I had during the fight, we really, from the booth, couldn't tell if Ramirez was getting hurt or not, like you said, with those shots that were splitting the guard, because he was staying there. For you, when you're in there, how are you able to tell that those shots are really getting through and landing?
Because it like legit, like if he's guarding like this, my hand is going right up the middle and it's connecting. And every time I would connect here, he'll close it and I'll just go over. So I'm catching him in the ear and the nose and chin, on the chin. So it worked. And I know people were worried about like don't punch yourself out. I definitely felt good with my condition in that fight. Even though I was bigger, I'm smaller than that. It was a good showing. It was good for me. So, It
absolutely was. And you mentioned carrying that power through different sizes, and something that's possible for you in October, you said you'd be open to, is fighting at middleweight. And
right.
I already asked about if there are any matchups there or anything, but how would you feel going down to middleweight? Obviously, you've done it before. Is it something that you just absolutely want to do? Is that where you see your future?
I've done it before. I think that's a better fit for me because the 205ers, they are big. I don't hold that much weight walking around anymore. And these guys are pretty fucking tall also. So they're like big. Their weight is big and they're tall. So like, just imagine fighting somebody 220, 240 when they blow back up. I'm still fucking 215. And, you know, it's a big weight difference. I mean, I fought bigger people, but I think I'll have a good advantage at the middleweight.
So that could certainly bring an advantage for you, like you said, having been in there with the bigger guys, bringing that bigger frame down to 185. And I will ask about one name. There was a guy who had a big knockout at Flex Fights 3 when we were in the crowd that I thought it was an impressive performance. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. Nart Goka's knockout of Jason Downer.
Somebody kind of put a whisper in my ear about them too. It could be possible. I don't want to spill any beans, but I definitely heard that in the crowd. Like, that'll be a good matchup. Either one of them. I like Funk though. I like Jamaican Funk. I'm a fan of him, and actually became a fan of the other guy also too. His teammate, the NFL guy. Yeah, I like them guys. So I mean, hey, it's part of the sport. We'll see. Somebody's gonna fall left or right. So hopefully,
well, there we go.
That's the match they want to make. I'm here.
That's great to hear, man. I mean, that I think would be a fireworks matchup. Like we said, you carrying that power in the large frame down into 185. Obviously, we've seen what Nart's able to do, and I think that would be a very fun matchup on the feet.
That'll be definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. And so I'm not sure if Nart has another fight scheduled yet or not, but possibly that's something that could end up being worked out. Like you said, someone whispered something in your ear about it. So we'll see how that plays out. And so what else has been going on, man? What in all this meantime, we're looking for you to get a fight. What have you been up to just to kind of stay strong?
I've kind of been I've been laying low, but I'm enjoying the fruits of this labor of the fight. I'm just soaking it all in. I don't want to lay off too long. I've been jogging still. I've been out of the gym a little bit longer. You know, just dealing with work and stuff. But I'm actually back to the gym today. Once we're done with this, but today we'll be back to camp. Back in motion. So it's not. I'm just enjoying everything. Summer's almost over. My birthday just passed August 5th, so I've just been hanging out.
Awesome, man. Well, happy birthday. I'm excited to hear that you're getting back into this fight camp, getting ready for the upcoming fight, hopefully in October. Hopefully we get to see you in there. Are there any closing statements you want to make to everybody before we let you
go? Again, guys, thanks for supporting me. It's been a long road to get back to where we are. I'm praying I can perform for you guys in Space at Westbury again in October. And just come and support. Show up so I can show out. King here.
Absolutely. You've got a fan in me, Mad King, McKenzie Headen, everybody signing off. Thank you very much again for taking the time, McKenzie. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much to McKenzie for taking the time to give that interview. I know he's got a busy day with the training schedule starting today, the upcoming fight, hopefully in October. And with that, we will now move on into the picks for this upcoming weekend. There are a couple of events that I am pretty interested in. And again, this is being recorded on Monday, so we're only talking early leans here. You can get the full slate of picks by Friday night on scotobets.com. We're going to start with a couple of parlays here. I mean, Sorty, Emiliano Sorty is going to be fighting against Shoeface on the PFL card 827, and I don't understand how he's listed as an underdog here. I think he's going to dominate every facet of this fight. He's plus 140 right now, and we're still at the point in the PFL that bookmakers are giving these odds because a lot of the people who are gambling on these fights only just recognize the name Antonio Carlos Jr. and they're like, oh, I know that guy. Let me place a wager on him. So he's garnering a lot of public interest right now, and I think that's just flat out incorrect. I have Sorty in two different parlays, one with Mahmoud Muradov, which still comes in at plus 183 despite the fact that Muradov is minus 550 on the money line to defeat Gerald Meerschaert. I have another bet on that fight that we're going to talk about a little bit later, but I'm placing 2.5 units to win 4.58 units on that on today, Monday. I don't know today's date, August something, whatever. It's Monday on fight week. You guys know when it is. Big value parlay. I love Giga Chikadze in the main event of the Ultimate Fighter finale coming up on Saturday night. I don't think that Edson Barboza is going to be able to hang with him. I think Barboza is getting a lot of attention because of the recent knockout over Burgos and just how visually confusing it was, and people haven't really seen anything like that. I mean, I did have Barboza in that fight. I thought that was a great matchup for him because of how much damage Burgos takes, but Giga Kikadze is a much, much better defensive fighter. So I'm leaning very, very heavily on Chikadze on the money line on that one and placing a wager on him for straight up money line win to win that fight. Anyway, the value parlay, I'm hooking it up with Sorty again, plus 140 to what do we got here on the parlay makes plus 369 odds, putting 1.5 units on that to win 5.53. So hopefully some big value there. Again, I mentioned the high confidence play, Giga Kikadze, minus 105 on the money line, minus 5.75 units to win 5. Love Ricky Tercios in the Bantamweight Tournament Championship of the Ultimate Fighter. I think he's a guy who just refuses to go away, and he's likely the most talented guy on the Ultimate Fighter this season. I truly believe he's the guy who's going to be able to go the furthest. And the middleweight championship, I'm leaning towards Battle. I still need to watch a little bit more film on that. We'll cover that later on in the week. The Muradov bet, the other one that I had mentioned that I love, minus 150. Get that in before it runs. That's going to be minus 200 by the time the week ends. This guy is going to knock out Gerald Mearshart. And again, I love GM3. I think he's a really talented guy. I had him by submission in that last fight over. It wasn't Dushko Todorovic. There was another very good wrestler whose name is escaping me for some reason right now. But I'll remember it at some point and I'll correct this. But anybody who wants to call me a casual fan, you all can go ahead for that one. I deserve it. Mahmoud Muradov by knockout is right now listed at minus 150 at time of opening. I want you all to go hopefully place that before the day ends, because that line is going to run, like I mentioned. And so those are the picks to click there. We got Muradov by knockout, Tercios money line minus 175 to win 1 unit, Giga Kikadze to win 5 units on the money line minus 105 over Edson Barboza, the Sorty Muradov parlay, and the Sorty Chikadze parlays. Hopefully you all tell those. Hopefully we hit those, and we all make some money.
And those picks will conclude our very first episode of Goose on the Call. I really appreciate you all tuning in and listening, providing your time, taking the time to listen. And we've had a really couple of really good interviews here. A couple more coming up. Thank you again to McKenzie, Lathan, and Marco for lending their time, taking the time to speak to me last week regarding all the upcoming events with Flex Fight Series. This Friday, August 27th at the Stereo Garden in Patchogue, we're going to be having Flex Fights for Battle Garden Volume 2. Really exciting night of fights. A lot of very talented fighters coming up on that card. The rest of the fight announcements are going to be made throughout the week on Flex Fight Series. You can order the pay-per-view at watchflexfights.com, or you can purchase tickets to the event at flexfights.com. Other than that, we're going to be looking forward to UFC Vegas 35. As I mentioned, Barboza versus Chikadze, very fun fight there, as well as the 2 tournament championships for the Ultimate Fighter Season 29. Again, we gave the picks for that earlier. Keep up with our picks on scotobets.com. You can find those via the link in my Instagram bio, or just hit the link, scotobets.com. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're going to be riding or fading my picks this week. I love to have those kind of conversations and see what everybody else is thinking. You can reach me at the Goose_MMA on Twitter, or Goose on the Call on Instagram. Everybody have a great day and a great week. Really appreciate you taking the time again. See y'all soon.